when I was, you know, a small child, I was very disturbed by death and aging. And when I was, you know, about 8 or 9, I decided I was going to find a cure for aging by the time I was 18, because I'd heard that you allegedly lost 2,000 brain cells a day after the age of 18. Yeah, a few years later, being a little more realistic, I stumbled across Robert Ettinger, The Prospect of Immortality, in a public library. And so, yes, that awakened my interest in cryonics, which struck me as more credible. Yeah, I mean, I was interested in radical life extension, not just for humans, but for non-humans. The saddest day of my brother's life was when family guinea pig Snowdrop died shortly after giving birth, and I wanted to keep her in the freezer so she could be reanimated. My mother vetoed the idea, but yes, I mean, as I said, most of my own personal work has been on suffering, genetic engineering, recalibrating the hedonic treadmill. Yes, the prospects of global veganism, getting rid of the horrors of factory farming, slaughterhouses, civilizing the biosphere. But of course, one of the greatest sources of suffering in the world is aging, age-related disease, and that anyone who has a kid today is bringing a child life into the world who has this lethal genetic disorder of aging. And we are used, at least if one ever sees a film of someone with progeria, you know, this accelerated aging. People with progeria die generally in their late teens, effectively extremely old, you know, from heart disease, cognitive decline. And we recognize this as tragic, but each of us has, in one sense, a progeroid disorder. And yes, essentially, given if one accepts that one is ethically entitled to bring more life into the world, I think one has a responsibility to think about this terrible disease called aging. I'm personally quite somber about timescales. Most transhumanists are optimists. I'm a bit of a pessimist. But I am very, very keen on the idea of having opt-out cryonics and opt-in cryoeuthanasia as a way to defang death. And yeah, essentially, rather than sink into one's dotage, I think one should have the option to be suspended in controlled conditions, so that the option will exist, whether it's grandchildren or great nephews, or for that matter, post-human superintelligence, will have the option of reanimating us, or at least reanimating versions of us. So yes, I see that the SENS approach and the cryonics approach as well. I think they ought to be tightly interlinked, and I think they should be available to everyone too.